Hello, welcome back to the Beginner's Guide. In this video, we will add Flexbox to our project, because if we look at our site right now, and if we increase the width, well, we can see that we have some issues, as I would say, because, for example, I don't like the way the images switch the way they are displayed from here to here, and also right here, these headers or these image descriptions, well, these are not displayed correctly because the California landscape should be displayed right here, this should be centered, and there are some more things that we should improve. And we can improve all these things with Flexbox. So let's do this right now. So, as I just said in the introduction, we have to fix some things here. And if we play around again, yeah, we can see that the main areas we should improve is right here, the part with the descriptions of the images. Then the way the images are displayed, this should be centered, so this should be at the same position like the gap between the images. And talking about the gap between the images, we should also get rid of this gap, by the way. And also down here, do people like my page? I would like to position that kind of on top of the images, so in this area. And down here in our footer, yeah, I would also like to change that and use Flexbox right here to display the images and the text, and also to work on the styling a little bit. So as you can see, a lot of things to do actually, but we'll see with Flexbox, this will be quite easy. And before we start right now, one important information. If you never worked with Flexbox before, make sure to check out this mini-series right here. Because in this series, I will talk about all the basic concepts behind Flexbox, so the theory and some practical examples in a mini project. If you worked with Flexbox already or have a basic understanding of how it works, then just watch this video now, because right here I will explain what I'm doing, but not as detailed as in the other videos, because this video has the purpose of applying Flexbox to our project and by that improving the looks of our website. So enough of the talking right now, let's go back to our code and see how we can add Flexbox right now to our project. So as I said, I would like to start right here in the main part. Just to remember, this trip text part, so the trip text and trip text P, is basically this part up here. Let me maybe do it like this. So we are in the main part. This is the class trip text, and inside the class we have the paragraphs. So you can see this right here. So what do we want to change right now? Well, as I said, I would like to display the California landscape right here, so right to my SF City trip, and each of these elements should occupy 50% of the space. Now, how can we do this? Of the space available, by the way, so of this entire space right here. So how can we do this? Well, let's first go right here to trip text and simply add, right there, display flex. And as just mentioned, if you never saw display flex before, make sure to check out the other video, but nevertheless, display flex simply means that we now turn this trip text class right here into a so-called flex container. And with that, we also turn the elements which are nested inside or into this flex container into flex items, so basically the paragraphs inside our trip text class. Now what does this mean? Well, this means that we can get rid of the display inline block declaration right here, like that. And if we now save that and go back to our project and reload it, well, then you can already see that the way they are displayed changed, and apparently we also don't have such a gap right here as we had it for the images. Let's maybe check that quickly by adding a border. I just want to show you that we don't have any gap right here now. And maybe 1 pixel, solid, and let's make it red maybe, just for a few seconds to make sure that we can really see it. So if we reload the page now, you can see that this is actually the 50% mark, I would say, of the page width. And you can also see that the images, well, they are not really centered at the moment. But we'll work on that in a few seconds. Let me first make sure that the text right here is now aligned in the center. I think this would look better. And we could also change the background color to this purple right here and make the font color also white. So let's do this. So first the background color. We will use our hex code 521751, this purple. Then we need a color of white, like we just said. And then we want to align the text in the center, which we can do like this. If we now save that and reload the page, then we can see that this looks quite good actually. We can also get rid of that border now because we saw that it wasn't centered in the beginning. So let's save that now and load it once more. Yeah, and I think with that, if we play around right here, this looks actually quite good, as I would say. So with that, we can now continue and work on the images. Because I don't like the way the images are displayed right here. I would like our images to always be displayed like this, but to change the size, so to be responsive, depending on the width we have on our website. Now, we can also change this or add this feature quickly by using Flexbox. So let's see what we need in our index.html file. We need trip images as a class, and inside this class we have the images. This means that this will become our Flex container, and the images will become our Flex items. So back to the CSS file, and let's add this right here. And we need the class trip images, like that. And the first thing we do is, of course, we add display flex to it. As I said before, this will now turn the trip images class into a flex container and the items into flex items. And if we save that and go back to the page, we can immediately see what that means. This means that we now have our items displayed like that. The problem still is that, well, if we decrease the size now, our images are kind of, well, fixed. So we should change that and make sure that our images, well, kind of change the size depending on the size of our website. So let's go back. And the great thing now is actually that we don't have to add a lot. We can simply add trip images and img, because with that, we will refer to our images inside the trip images, not image, sorry for that, images class. And if we now add a width of 50% and a height of 100%, then this should actually work. Now, one important note, in the next video of this series, and I said that before already, but next video will finally be the video, we will talk about all the different values we can use here. So the pixels, the percentages, and a lot more. So for the moment, and this will really be the last time I say that, let's just keep it the way it is right here and then understand the details behind it in the next video. The important thing right here now is that if I save this and now go back to our page and reload it, well, then you can see that our images are now really centered. You can see it right here. And additionally, they behave in a really, well, responsive design or responsive way, because they always are centered and they keep their aspect ratio. And this simply happens because we defined that the height should always be 100% of our class. So if we inspect that, well, maybe not inspect that, let's maybe make it right here. So it should always be 100% of the height this class has, this trip images class. And if we reduce the class, we can see that the images reduce. But at the same time, it should also occupy 50% of the space available from a width perspective in this class. And therefore, applying a height of 100% and a width of 50% makes perfect sense right here, because with that, we make sure that our images are displayed correctly and keep their aspect ratio. And with that, we have a styling for our images already. One important note again, if you make our website really small, like that maybe, which is actually a displaying style that we would have on a smartphone, then this doesn't look good at the moment. We'll also work on that later when we talk about media queries. So for the moment, our responsive design is rather focused onto bigger devices like tablets, maybe like this, or different screen sizes we could have on laptops, for example. However, we now have our MySF city trip, California landscape, and the corresponding pictures, well, formatted, as I would say, better than before, or actually quite good and quite responsive. Let's now work on do people like my page? Because as I said in the beginning, I would like to display this element right here in the lower part of these two images. So basically, well, right here. That's where it should be. And for this purpose, we don't need Flexbox, but we can use our position relative declaration that we talked about throughout this series already. So if we go back and now go to our feedback class right here and add position relative, like that. If we save that and go back, you learned that already, nothing should change. That's the case. But now we can do the following. If we inspect that, we can first see that we have a margin around this element. So let's maybe get rid of that margin first by adding margin 0. Also something we talked about throughout the series. Now with that, yes, our image is basically kind of added right here. We can see that this element has a height of 18.4 pixels. Now, why don't we just add a property of bottom? And we talked about that, kind of, well, kick this element up 18.4 pixels. Let's try this out and see what happens then. Because if we do that, right here maybe, and now say bottom, 18.4 pixels, like that. And if we now go back and reload the page, well, you can see that the element is now positioned on top of our images. And that's the great thing about position relative in that case. Let me maybe unselect the inspect tool, because with that, we could now easily make sure that we position this element exactly on top of our images. Because as we learned, let me repeat that, with position relative, we can position an element relative, well, to its current position. And by pushing it up 18.4 pixels, so exactly the height it has, well, we can achieve the result that we want to have right here. And the great thing is that this also stays there. So if we increase the size or decrease the size, it always stays where it is. Now we'll see if we have to work on the font size and if maybe the size of the element has to change when we make the screen smaller. But actually I think for the moment this is quite okay. And with that, we also fixed this lower part of our main element right here. And with that, we can now actually already continue and work on the footer right there. Because as I said, I would like to change the way we do it right now, because at the moment we are not using Flexbox to display the image and the text next to each other. And I would also, well, make the image smaller and add some more styling to this part. So let's go back and let's now go down here to our footer. And actually we can get rid of everything you see right here, because we only need review clients. Again, this will be our Flex container, like we saw it in the other sections of this code. So let's add the curly braces and add display flex right here. Let's save that and see what happens. Well, as you can see, although we deleted all the code we created in the last videos, it is already almost displayed correctly. We only have to add one more thing. And if you watch the other videos, you should know what that one thing is. It's align items. Because we know that by adding display flex, our standard flex direction is row. This means our main axis goes from left to right, and our cross axis also starts here and goes to the bottom. Therefore, we want to change the way the elements along the cross axis are aligned, because we want to put this text right here next to the image, so into this part. And therefore, we can now simply use align items, not content, items, like this, center, like that. And if we now go back and save that, and reload that, not save that, then we can see that this worked quite easily. And I have to say it again, if this was too fast for you, make sure to check out the other video, because I really talk about a lot of details regarding this main axis, cross axis, and align items topic. So make sure to see this. However, back right here to our topic, because it looks the way it looked before, but now with just using Flexbox. But now I think it also makes sense to quickly work on that images, because they are way too big. So if we go back to the code, and now refer to the review clients class, but now to the images in there. And now let's maybe say that we will use another width for these images maybe. Let's add the width, and let's maybe say it should be 20% only, like that. Yeah, looks better, but I think it's still quite big, so let's maybe even go back to 15%, like that, and reload it. Yeah, I think now it looks better. We'll have a look at the entire styling in one of the last videos of this course, when we kind of go through all the styling once again and see what tiny bits we can improve. But I think this looks good right now. What I also would like to have is kind of a box around this footer part right here because it looks kind of lost at the moment. So let's go back and let's add such a box by adding a border. Maybe 1 pixel, should be rather small, solid, and maybe black. And let's also add a background color, which could be white in our case. This could look good. Let's see if we go back and reload it. Yeah, I kind of like that. What I don't like is that we don't have any margin right here. So let's also add a margin to our Flex container. Maybe 5 pixels. We'll see if it's too small. Maybe 10. We'll see. Yeah, rather 10, as I would say. Like that. And let's reload the page. And yeah, I think with that, our page looks quite good. We have a responsive design now. Our images work perfectly. And the general look is actually also quite fine. However, there are 2 more things that I would like to change. The first thing is that I would like to center our Flex items, so the image and the text right here, well, to the center of our Flex container, and by that to the center of our page. And the second thing is that if I decrease the width of our page right here, well, I would like to have a different behavior of our Flex items. I would like to, well, wrap these items so that the text is displayed below the image, let's say once we reach around about 600 pixels of our page width. Now let's change these 2 things and let's change the centering of our 2 items first. And we know how this works because we used align items already, which was responsible to center our Flex items along the cross axis, so from top to bottom. And we know that the main axis goes from left to right. So this means if we want to center the image and the text, then we have to make sure that we center these items along the main axis. Well, and to do this, we can simply go back right here to our code and now add justify content right here. And this means this now refers to our main axis, so from left to right in our case. And if we now add center to it, and save that and go back and reload the page, well, then we can see that our Flex items are displayed in the center of our Flex container. And again, I said that before, if you are not totally sure how this works, make sure to have a look at the Understanding Flexbox video, because in there we talk about exactly these topics in a lot of detail. However, we now centered our items right here, but, well, the items are still not wrapping, so we have to change that. And to do this, we first have to change the width right here of the image. Let's maybe say we give our image a fixed width of maybe 150 pixels. So if we go back and reload the page, we see our images are slightly bigger. Well, let's maybe say we use 120 pixels. Let's see what this looks like. Yeah, I think this is nice, but now we also need to make sure that our second Flex item, so the paragraph right here, also has a defined width. And let's maybe not use 300, let's maybe use 350 pixels. So we add another selector right here, review clients P, because we want to select our paragraph inside the review clients class. And now we define a width again, and we said that this width should be 350 pixels, like that. If we save that and reload the page, we can see that, well, this is not working. Do you know why this is not working? You probably do, because we have to specify our Flex wrap. I talked about that in the other video. You can basically say that you use Flex flow. You could do this. And with that, you have 2 different properties in there. This is the Flex direction, which is row in the standard case. And you have the Flex wrap, which is no wrap, right here. So if you now change the second value, which refers to the Flex wrap property, to wrap, like that, and if you save that, and go back to the page, then you see that nothing changes. But as soon as we reach the defined width, well, then we can see that our page behaves like that. And I think this looks a lot better now. Now going back to the code, just to complete that, you could of course also not use flex flow because at the moment we are happy with our flex direction of row. You could also simply write flex, not flew, flex wrap right here, and now say flex wrap, well, should be wrap, like this. And if you now go back and reload the page, you see nothing changes, but now you specified exactly what you want to have. This is the flex wrap with the value of wrap. Now there is one last thing that I just saw that I don't like, because if we again wrap our page, we can see that our text is not centered inside the paragraph. So let's also change that by going right here into the flex item and now say text align center. We used that before, so we know how this declaration works. And if we reload the page now, you can see that our text is also centered. And with that, well, I think we finished this video, and by that our Flexbox applied part. And yeah, we see that our website, I think, looks a lot better now. We see that we can use Flexbox really easily actually to make our page more responsive and by that look a lot more beautiful. And well, we also saw that we used right here in the code pixels and percentages before. And this brings me to the next video of the series. Because in the next video, I want to take a closer look at these things. So at height, at width, at percentages, at pixels, and so on. So I hope to see you in this video. And as always, thanks a lot for watching. Hope to see you in the next videos. And bye.